Here's a riddle. What's black and red and spotted all over? An invasive species whose population continues to grow in Pennsylvania, the spotted lanternfly. Spotted lanternflies were first spotted here a decade ago. Brian Walsh is a horticulture educator and spotted lanternfly researcher at Penn State Extension, one of the groups that has been monitoring the spread of lanternflies in the Commonwealth. And he says spotted lanternflies are now here to stay.
Spotted lanternfly was discovered in 2014 in Berks County. And when it was found, it was in a relatively localized area, pretty much on the borderline of two townships. And it being so localized, there was an immediate effort to eradicate it. As you know, now it's in, I think, 17 different states. So eradication's off the table.
Indigenous to China and Vietnam, they have spread invasively to Japan, South Korea, and the United States. And the agricultural impacts can be major, especially to one particular crop.
The primary concern here is the grape crops. The grape crops are really threatened by this insect without a lot of intervention from the growers in the way of insecticides, additional insecticide applications. They can lose their entire vineyard pretty quickly. What a lot of people don't know, what I did not know prior to lanternfly, is that the Erie region is a major grape growing region for the United States.
At Weather World, we've reported on lanternflies before, but new research is connecting lanternfly populations to weather and climate. Lanternflies grow and thrive at temperatures above about 53 degrees Fahrenheit. Every day the temperature remains above this threshold is known as a growing degree day, and the more growing degree days there are, the more lanternflies can develop. This may help to explain which areas of Pennsylvania are seeing more lanternflies than others.
The number of growing degree days that lanternflies need to successfully reproduce don't exist across all portions of the state. And the northern tier and some of the more the higher elevation areas in the state look like they shouldn't be strong contenders for spotted lanternflies to exist in. But we have to put a big asterisk next to that in saying that that's based on normal climate data. If the modeling is correct, with climate change, I think we can say safely that it will successfully reproduce and exist further north and at higher elevations than it would have before.
Adult lanternflies begin to lay eggs in the fall, and research is showing that daylight may play a role in when this process begins.
Generally, year after year, we've not seen many eggs being laid prior to the equinox. And we're not 100% on that, but it seems to be holding pretty well that it is a daylight-driven phenomenon that triggers them to start laying their eggs. And once they start laying their eggs in the fall, the females will continue to lay eggs until they are killed by a freeze, and it's not just a frost, but a hard freeze.
But Walsh says their eggs aren't sensitive to temperature like adults and are adapted to survive even through our harsh Pennsylvania winters.
Every winter we get a cold snap and we get asked, will that kill a lot of lanternfly eggs? And the answer is unfortunately no. Lanternfly eggs are really well adapted to go through extremely cold temperatures for a long duration. So no, our cold snaps that we get, even if we get the polar vortex and we have a several week long cold snap, it's not likely going to impact spotted lanternfly eggs. So the viability of them, they'll probably hatch just fine in the spring.
You can help to curb lanternfly populations in Pennsylvania by keeping a close eye for lanternfly eggs, which look a bit like dried mud and can appear on any hard surface outside, including man-made ones, like this stone wall.
If you see eggs, the best thing to do is destroy them. And that's as easy as just popping them, breaking them. They pop like pimples. So that's an effective way to kill them. If you're a little squeamish about that, you can scrape them into hand sanitizer, rubbing alcohol, and then throw them out in the trash.
Remember to check your car or truck for signs of lanternfly eggs. This is particularly important in order to avoid spreading lanternfly eggs to new areas.
It's an important thing to not take those eggs with you. if you have a boat or a camper or just even a vehicle that you don't use often, and you're going to go to a new location, don't take that camper parked somewhere in the fall that's loaded with lanternflies and take it to somewhere where it's not in the spring. There's a good chance that there's going to be lanternfly eggs underneath of it. And we've certainly seen big jumps across multiple states exactly that way on campers, things like that.
If you see an adult lanternfly, Walsh says to kill it any way you can and make a report to the state.
So if somebody sees lanternflies, particularly where they're not known to exist yet, definitely report them. You can go right on the Penn State Extension webpage and report them. If you're not 100% sure, if you're in an area where it's not been seen before, try and grab a picture of it or grab the bug and get it to an extension office or Department of Agriculture office and get it reported.
All of us are affected by weather and climate, and that includes invasive pests too. As our climate changes, spotted lanternflies could move farther and farther north into northern Pennsylvania and beyond. Fortunately, there are some things we can each do to help curb their population and keep them from harming Pennsylvania's agriculture. Keep a close eye out for lanternfly eggs over the next few months, and if you see any, do your part and squash them. For Weather World, I'm Tyler Hughes.